Okay. Just as a, well, you'll see. Okay, well, then I will commence, blinded by the lights. Hi, my name's John Bellinger. 3 years ago, my best friend from college and I co-founded a startup called LLC. We design and make power electronics. We do hobby robot parts. We do DC-DC converters for mostly hackers, things of that nature, and we do radio control airplane stuff. For the past 3 years, we've been running a startup, we've been growing a startup, we've been living a startup, we've been dying a startup. So I thought I would come here, because I was cajoled into it, and talk to you a little bit about startupping. And this is where the presentation's going to be a little bit weird, because I hate podiums. I am the authority figure. You shall all get out your notebooks and write down. This is how I start a startup. The guy with the hair said, first you make a business plan. You do make a business plan. I will get to that. But startupping is impetuous. If you can't say, hey, you don't know anything about anything, you're not going to start a startup because you'll say, they're established. I can't beat them. Startupping is, it's spontaneous. You have to roll with things. There's no, well, I'll just sit on it for a couple weeks because in a couple weeks somebody else will solve the problem, because the problem is your problem, the company is your company, and in 2 weeks you may be dead. So, how many people here are here because you're seriously considering or have at any point considered, I should start a company? I'm a damn smart guy or girl, and I should start a company. Anybody? If you have, stand up. Okay, of everybody standing up, how many of you own a house? No, you can stay standing up. Raise your hand if you do. Okay. Whoever owns a house or doesn't own a house, how many of you own a car? If you own a car and you're thinking of starting up, stay standing up. Sit down if you're willing to lose both. Startupping is hard. There's really no way you could prepare yourself for it, but if you're not willing to go all in every day, and by all in I mean in the poker sense, this is all my money, this is all my effort, this is all my time, these are all my relationships in the world, and they're in the pot, I can't get them back except by winning, then startupping is the way to go. If you can't do that, get a job. It's more lucrative, it's faster, it's a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so having started here, this is my talk, these are my rules, and the rules are you have to be interactive. The reason I started a startup, well, I'll get into, but part of it is I thought I was more clever than whoever was doing whatever I was doing before. So if you're going to start a startup, you have to think you're more clever than me. So at any point, for any reason, interrupt me. Say, hey, blonde dude, or John, or yo, asshole up front. I want you to stop. I want you to give me information. I want you to tell me something. I want to argue with you. If nobody interrupts me for too long, then I'm just going to stop. Isn't it? Why not?
I've started companies. You do not have to sacrifice everything. You can start, 2 hours a week. I mean, you can do whatever you want to.
Is this not hot?
Yeah, no, just keep talking.
Okay, that's cool. Now it's hot.
You can start a company 10 hours a week and build it up until you can step out of your job and do it.
I'm going to disagree with you. I'll get back to that. Do you want to do that now?
No, sure. It doesn't matter either way.
Okay, I'll get back to that, because I'm going to disagree completely. But this is the great thing about startups. I'm not necessarily right. He's not necessarily right. If both of us live off of our income, we're right. And if neither of us live off our income, we're wrong. There is no, well, I'm being underpaid here in a startup, and there is no, I deserve better in a startup. There is whatever you can get by clawing and scratching and fighting and biting and kicking and whatever methods you have to get to. The great thing about startups is there's no, well, somebody screwed me out of it. Did somebody screw you out of it? Hell yes. People try to screw you all the time. But at the end of the day, there's you and your business partner, if you have a business partner, and whatever, but there isn't any externalities that don't come right back to you. So, yeah, if you want to interrupt me, great, because I love to debate, and I'm not necessarily right. I have 3 years of startup experience with this one under my belt. I haven't gone bankrupt yet, but we could tomorrow. So interrupt, interact, say you're wrong, or say I want more information. I know a few things anymore because I've been doing it for 3 years. So if you're seriously thinking about starting a startup, ask me. I'm not offended if you say, what do you take home in a year? Not a hell of a lot. Okay, so why did I do this? Why did I say there's not going to be any me working for Lockheed Martin or whatever? Why did I start a startup? And the reality of the situation is I started a startup because I graduated college with a degree in mechanical engineering in 2004. The people who were hiring were defense, 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 and defense. I don't have anything against defense necessarily. Defense does have something against me. You walk in and say, hi, I'm real clever. I'm going to work for you on a missile system. They'll be like, hi, you've got hair halfway down to your ass. You're blonde, you're impetuous, and you don't like traditional power structures. We're not hiring you so much. So why I started a startup is partially because it had been something I'd always been planning on doing. This was part of the problem in the interview process. Hi, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? Running a company? Oh, well, we'll get to you. The correct answer was engineer grade 3. The hell did I know? So anyway, senior year, I graduated with all these. I graduated from Carnegie Mellon University with great commendations, and I won some award saying, you are the greatest engineer of your graduating class. Thanks, now I'm unemployed. So anyway, a buddy of mine and I said, okay, no time like the present, we'll start a company. That was May. We legitimately starting the company in that we were incorporated in November. What did we do in the interim? In the interim, we did a number of things, which are very important groundwork, which I'm going to go over, because if you're starting a startup, you kind of need to do this. And if you want to disagree with me, knock yourself out, because that's what I'm here for. But first thing you need to do if you're starting a startup is write a business plan. It's boring, it's bullshit, it's absolutely not going to have any basis in reality, but if your business plan doesn't say, yeah, I'll be a millionaire by the age of 30, your chances of being a non-homeless guy by the age of 30, not so hot. So you got to write a business plan. And there are any number of ways to write a business plan. Ours was actually fairly involved because we were doing a tech company. So we actually, before we started, said, these are the markets we want to be in. These are the products we're thinking of making. These are how long it will take, it'll cost. We did about 6 months of pre-company product design, product development, research. What can we actually do? And the other question is that we had to answer was, how do you do this? Because we were engineers, we were newly minted. We knew some about very little. Did we know anything about the mechanics of manufacturing thousands of surface-mount electronics? No. Did we know anything about hiring managers? No. Did we know anything about, well, really anything? And the answer was, not a hell of a lot. We knew some technical stuff. They taught us technical shit. No, they taught us how to learn technical shit, I guess. Say again? I'm not going to say that. If I hadn't gone to college, I would definitely not be standing here because I wouldn't have had the technical skills that have gotten me through my lack of understanding of business things, have gotten me through my complete lack of the technical stuff, because my company was started by 2 engineers. The technical stuff is our core. That's what we come back to when we're screwed. And being a startup, you know how often you're screwed? Always. You are always one misstep from, well, I guess I'm thoroughly fucked. And that's how you live, and that's how you live for the entire time you're going, because as you grow, you know, thoroughly fucked might be some guy didn't pay me $500 2 years ago. Thoroughly fucked is, right now I have a customer who ordered $9,000 worth of stuff, decided, oh, I'm an idiot and don't know how to make it work. It's custom for you, so I can't send it back, but I'm not going to pay you. Okay. Do I have a resolution for that one? No. But that's not, you get to the point where you're growing, you're growing, you're growing. The whole time we've been 2 weeks, maybe a month worth of no revenue from dead. And your 2 weeks of revenue goes from, $500 a month to $40,000 a month, which is where we're sitting right now, but we're still 2 weeks from dead. Now, what I'm going to get into is I'm going to disagree with you about starting full-time, because this is one of the things that I'm 26 now, I've sort of started 4 businesses. Way back when everything was dial-up and there were BBSs, if you can remember that, when I was about 14 or so, I was running a BBS. I think probably half the people here were running a BBS. We decided, we're going to get into internet access just because, there isn't too much around, and blah, 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 and local content was the hot thing. And so I was 16. I was trying to be in school. My brother was 14, trying to be in school. That tanked. That tanked so hard it wasn't funny. And it tanked because one, we're 16 and 14. We didn't know what we were doing. 2, we didn't have the time to devote to it. I also contracted my way just doing odd jobs through high school, parts of college, decks, blah, blah, blah. That I was doing part-time. That made some money. In college, my brother again and I did a online game. It was for the time, massively multiplayer online game. It had about 100 people at the peak. It's still running. It's got about 40 now. We started charging for it. We made a little bit of money. We probably could have made a go of it if we were doing it full-time. But I was in college. He was in high school, actually. And we didn't. And as a result, it didn't fail as such, but it never really thrived. And so when we were doing this one, there was no conception of, well, I'll just do this kind of part-time. And we work in the hobby industry. The hobby industry, airplanes, robots, hacking, electronics, things like that, is full of little companies that guys are doing in their spare time. And I'm going to say it doesn't work. It doesn't work for one very important reason. You grow to the point where you die. If you're working 2 hours a week, then when that gets full up, you work 4 hours a week. When you're working 4 hours a week, that gets full up, you work 6 hours a week. You're still working your regular job, and because you're working your regular job and doing this on the side, you haven't raised a whole heck of a lot of money, most likely. If you did, grand. But chances are you're saying, well, this is kind of a hobby. This is what I'm doing for fun. This is what I'm doing for gratification because my job is boring. I do whatever I do. And you see a lot of companies like that. And what happens is they grow to the point where they can't ditch it for their regular job because they're not making enough money and they haven't done the financing rounds. They don't have enough money to say, well, I can make a mortgage payment on my 4-week job. That's on the side. But they can't not grow because if you don't grow, where are you going? If you're a plumber, growth is kind of, yeah. Don't raise your hand. Just yell out.
Well, the problem with that is that's because their management isn't scaled for their growth, right? They're still acting like an individual contributor.
Right.
Business relies on their individual contribution every day. You have to learn the art of delegation. It's all about,
I agree.
So I own a successful business.
Okay.
That I could actually pay. Well, I do pay actually a mortgage for one of my houses based on the income from that business.
Right.
And I don't run that business every day.
Really? What do you do?
I manage the people who.
No. I mean, what does your business do?
HIPAA compliance audits for healthcare firms and
Okay.
law practices.
So
we also offer a wide variety of vertical services to bring you back into compliance, of course.
Fantastic.